This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 881, Experimenting with Arrows. Enjoy. This is, of course, the accidental... I just laughed when I saw this. The accidental fletching and firemaking update on Anachronia with Granny Potterington. We were wondering how they were going to do accidental fletching and firemaking, but lo and behold, here we are. The blog post for this came out on Friday after we'd published everything from last week's show. We learned we were getting the skilling update, the May skilling update that showed a Zygamite last week. We didn't know exactly what it would be, but lo and behold, here we are. Tanis, early opinions?
I'm pretty pleased, and it's about time we've gotten a quality skilling update, especially a quality skilling update that has its own economy and ecosystem, and those are the best. It has a good mix between AFK and sweaty. I really don't know how much more we could ask for. I mean, it's not the perfect update, but it's a really good update.
There's also a boatload of puns with it. Every part of the skilling update has puns.
The Mods Do Examine texts are back, or somebody in the spirit of Mods Do is doing the examine text.
Well, on the stream they said Mods Do and Mod A worked very closely on all this together, and it was kind of like a merging of their two minds, and they're very very similar in that regard.
If you haven't examined the broken ship parts around the Zygamite Salon, please do so. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Just well done. It's just so well done.
Yeah.
It feels very RuneScape. I mean, the amount of potty humor from the name Accident in the title to this, just the whole lot of it.
The Bograta Rexes.
They're sneaking it in there.
And for anybody,
it feels very RuneScape.
For anybody wondering, bog is slang for toilet in England.
I'm not going to go to the bog. That was definitely an Australian accent. I'm not going to do that again. Excellent, good stuff. Clapping just to wreck with the audience.
I didn't know that. I thought it was like a privy or something.
I'm sure.
Didn't know it was a bog.
I've heard of it being called the loo and such.
Oh yeah, the loo. That's right.
I mean, we're all North American based here, and that was one thing when I was there for the week and a half, I had no idea what the hell was going on with all the slang that I heard there. Do we have that kind of slang here? I don't know.
Oh, we definitely do.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We say a lot of things that they look at us with a raised eyebrow for, which is entirely fair.
So the first update, the first part of this update is called segregation. Seg with emphasis on the egg. Segregation. This is your 87 fire making skilling spot. Relatively low intensity. I'm sorry, I'm trying to just keep it together here, so you guys can tell.
It's the medium. This is the medium intensity option.
Okay.
It's not click once every 2 minutes. It's definitely you got to be moving, and it does reward you if you've got some okay time surges, but it's very clean surge and bladed dive paths. It's, they don't make it hard for you. They're very much, run to one thing, run to the pile, run to the other thing, run to the pile.
Yeah.
Very straightforward.
You basically take from the pile of dinosaur eggs, put the good ones in the incubator, and put the bad ones in the incinerator.
And
which of course raises many moral questions, as they highlighted on the stream, if you're incinerating eggs and such.
I mean, Granny's evil. We knew that.
Yeah.
So, it's fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Bad eggs. No bad eggs here.
That entire character's become the personification of Mod Raven, I bet.
It really has. It's so good.
Yeah.
But you also get pretty heavy dinosaur egg drops from this.
Yes,
multiple per hour. So the Iron Men are really benefiting from that. I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot else to say other than they've made those available and more than just Aya, and that's going to be really nice for Iron Men.
This and Aya has made the prices of dinosaur eggs that might have been relatively uncommon before just hit the floor. So for anybody looking to create or complete those player-owned farm breeding logs, this is the time to do it.
Well, and they also made the sub-breeds available for purchase. Before you couldn't purchase the sub-breeds, only the base breeds. And so it took me 3 or 4 months just to get the dino breeding log of like daily checks. So I'm over the moon for anybody who's working on a trim grind. It's a great update for them. It's a great update for the Iron Men as well. So I've seen a lot of happy Iron Men the last few days.
Yeah. And I think another thing I want to talk about here before we get too far into this is that the onboarding for this activity, fabulous. Grade A, 100%. How did you find it, Tanis? Accessibility angle.
Reminiscent of archaeology.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice. They've definitely learned, and
there's their own little tutorial in it.
They did a 2-parter on this one. Firstly, it's great onboarding. It is. And the puns are there, and it leads you from one section to the next, and it teaches you the whole thing. It doesn't work super well if you don't have all the levels for it. If you come here with fletching in the low 90s, high 80s, and fire making in the low 80s, you can only do the Zygamite station, so you have to skip the first 2. So that does put a damper on things somewhat.
True.
But the tutorial is great. It plays well. The rewards are, it's a whole bundle of rune score. And I'm here to say that I think they very carefully calculated the number of rune score that they gave to these tutorials, because the maximum total rune score at time of recording is exactly 30,000. They have just unlocked the dragon armor skin for the achievement pet, the literal handful of people that have all achievements done. So I think they were looking to pull that out of this too. So that's cool.
And, when I was at this point of going through the tutorial and the onboarding and such, I was thinking, is this going to be a case study in how you do a RuneScape skilling update? Because it had the onboarding, it had the achievements, it has the XP rates, it has something that skillers can use to gain XP, or they can sell the components to make money. It's basically got that entire spectrum of choice that we talked about of what made things like the mining and smithing rework so great, which Tanis is intimately familiar with at this point.
And every one of those sellable objects, except for the completed arrows, is sellable as a skilling item. Selling arrow shafts will be used for fletching. Selling arrow tips will be used for fire making. They will be. Selling the shafts might be used to make bowstrings, which will then be sold for more money. Spinning those does give you fletching XP, not crafting XP, by the way. We're not going to go into huge detail.
We'll get there.
Well, I see this as the evolution of
skilling,
skilling methods. Well, if you think about like what archaeology did for a new skill, and how it kind of defines what we think of as the ideal new skill, I think this does for skilling methods, just for the sheer completeness of it. It's one of those things where if you look at early iPhones, right, every iPhone was a little bit better. It was a little bit iterated on, and now we're to a point where it's all been brought together into this complete package.
Like,
and thinking about how long it's been since we had our last skilling update.
Yeah, you're doing some number crunching on that.
Well, David and I were talking about this earlier in the week, and we scrolled back through the list of updates, and Heads Oasis is nice, but it's not endgame XP raise, right? Like, that is very clearly a mid-level designed thing. So looking at just the endgame, where people spend so much of their time, like, that didn't change any method people were using. You could make an argument for construction contracts, which were 18 months ago, as being the last truly new method to gain XP
and those
that somebody could potentially use. Yeah, from a strictly GP per XP perspective, not XP per hour, for construction. And we haven't had anything that could be considered GP per XP or XP per hour wise best in slot. We've had new versions of things. We've had new hotspots, like archaeology has had new dig sites. we haven't really had a new skilling method endgame in years, literally years. So,
and you've had updates that had pieces of it, but this is like a
totally
complete,
contained.
yeah, and it's a complete deal. Whereas when you look at the construction contracts, it really only kind of looked at one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it made construction reasonable
cheaper.
and cheaper. And so like, but this, I mean, I don't want to say like there's no flaws, although I haven't found them.
I have.
I know, Daxi, but what I'm saying is like I'm just happy.
I get it, Tannis.
Like
the numbers, the numbers are all good.
Boat.
They're all usable, right?
Yeah.
They've either made things more AFK or more XP or more GP. Every aspect of this, every step of the process is usable and something that somebody could feasibly want to do for a reason.
Yeah.
They gave a reason to do every one of these steps, and it's so cool. They did such a great job with the balancing on this.
I don't want to get to a point yet where we're giving the conclusion of this away, but from the fletching angle, the only thing I feel that is missing from a so-called fletching rework at this time would be a masterwork-esque kind of bow or set of armor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
maybe that's how they're going to drop.
Yeah, I
10,000 Elder Logs need to get fletched with a component that drops from the new Samurai dungeon to make them. Who knows?
and even the little tiny quality of life, like the stackable bowstring. Come on.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's just. I don't know, man. It's an onion, and I'm
those are the least useful part of this to me. But we'll talk about it.
Well,
so let's get into
I'm
those
just saying,
XP
quality
rates.
of life wise, like that's something that could.
Oh yeah, the XP per hour on actually stringing bows has gone way up, which will increase the number of those in the market because people need to buy them for invention components. Like they did good balancing on this.
You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.